So one of the things that I've kind of used over the years to help keep my momentum sustained is just trying to be grateful. And one of the things I'm reflecting on is the fact that we've been making music videos for nearly a decade now. Something that really kind of made me worried in the beginning of my career was, how long will I be able to do this? How long will we remain relevant? You know, I just thought that it was a young person's kind of game, and I'm getting older. Sometimes it worries me that, you know, maybe we're not as relevant as we once were, which might be true. But the fact of the matter is that we've been making really great work for 10 years. Those 10 years have been wonderful years for me. They've allowed me to grow so much as an artist. I think back constantly to who I was 10 years ago, and I think that version of me would be so surprised with how far we've come and the ways that we've grown and done things that I didn't think that we would even do. In starting JECP, you know, my love for music has kind of always been there, but I've never been a musician. And the truth of the matter is like, I've always been a little bit envious of the fact that, you know, I have friends that are musicians, and it's less of the being able to play and to create the art. And it's more for the feeling that I see with an artist. When I think back to, you know, my days in high school and I had friends that were in bands, one of the things that drew me into the music industry was just seeing my friends light up about making music and making art and kind of chasing the dream, whether that be trying to get signed, getting the next big show, playing with some of their friends, you know, going in those tour vans, going to different towns and cities. Making music allows artists to travel. It allows them to make an impact. It allows them to make art. That's always touched me in my heart. That's always been special to me. Before I could ever make music videos, I always wanted to support artists. I love that feeling. I love that passion. All through this last decade, that has been the driving force for me, is how do I match that passion? How do I make art that supports other artists? When I started out, you know, our mission was supporting artists, support your scene, you know, all those things back in the day. And we wanted to work with local artists. And I'm really proud that we've continued to work with quote unquote local artists. I believe artists are artists. And that's kind of the first layer, is like, when I'm bringing on a new artist, I want them to see themselves as confident, as valuable, as making art is a privilege, but it's a privilege that I want them to continue to pursue. I want them to chase their dreams. I'm honored that I've been able to chase my dreams and make a career in making music videos and expanding my career in so many different areas. But I want to give that gift to my artists as well. You know, when we look at taking on a music video, it used to be, let's make a beautiful music video, let's support this artist, let's make this awesome, work together and make a cool video production. And it definitely was more visual based in the beginning, but it still had kind of a content creation emphasis. So that origin story isn't far off from who we are today. I just think we've added more tools and skill sets and values, you know, into our brand to support our artists. And some of those things have changed. When we started out, it was trying to flex our creative muscles and our ideation. And over time, we started to kind of realize our place and our value and how our process actually impacts our artists. And one of the things that we've realized is that we kind of come in and we strengthen ideas. You know, for a long time, our tagline was ideas made possible, because truthfully, I struggled with coming up with ideas. And I thought when I'd have a meeting with a client, I'd have to come up with this great idea even before we sat down. And over time, I realized that's not our place. And it's honestly a disservice. Artists spend all of this time making art. You know, they have feelings attached to these songs. That's what art is. It's rude of me to come in and impose my ideas or my vision. And I don't mean to say that we don't add to the creative process, but a lot of where we add our value is by getting to build a relationship with our artist, to help them feel like they can be vulnerable with us and talk about their art. And we really help them, you know, process what that art might be. So it might be like, oh, we have this idea, this idea, this idea. And then JECP comes into the equation with, what if we did it like this? What if we played it out this way? Here's a couple ways we can execute on this. You know, I used to always say, like, you're the idea and we're the execution. The more we kind of refine that is, like, you could look at us as art directors, story strengtheners, or project, you know, planning, or a consultant. But the reality of it is we make themes stronger. Common trend that we've kind of been leaning into for the last 3 years has been, rather than going project to project or one big video, like, we've become more efficient. We know how to make resources go further. And And we love when our artists start to become more sustainable. And sustainability really comes when we can batch produce and we can make a lot of ideas all at once. This saves our artists dollars, it lets projects go a lot further, it lets art transcend a lot further too. So for me, I kind of come in and I'm trying to figure out, what is the theme? You know, is this an EP? Is this a full length? Is this just a single? You know, like, let's talk about this idea right now, but let's also talk about like, what are the short and the long-term goals? You know, creatively, budget, all those things in mind, because that's what it looks like to be a partner. As we've started to grow the business more and more, you know, it has kind of changed from that visual, and it's more on strategy. You know, when we can think about your art long-term, it starts to become more consistent. The more consistent a band looks, it starts to create more of a brand. You know, when we can start to see our bands as brands, then we can start to really market them. We can start to think about what's really important to your short and long-term goals. How are we going to use this video, which is probably arguably more important than how pretty it looks? I want to know what the objectives are. Are you guys going to play a lot of shows? Are you trying to get outside of your home state? Are you trying to find a specific niche? Are you trying to sell more CDs, shirts, merch, whatever the case may be? All these different things play a role in content creation, because then the content has a place to point and to redirect an audience and to connect with an audience, which is the most important piece. When I think about making art, it has to have an objective. It has to support our artist. It has to support our artist's audience. And a big thing for us is like, the more we know our audience's audience, the better we add value to our partners. So a huge part of starting the process is not just knowing your music. Who is their fan base? What does their fan base value out of them? And then how do we translate that into art? Because that's what's going to connect. It's like, we are growing our artists. We are becoming more supportive, and that's something I always wanted. And music videos are tricky because it's hard to identify what the return on investment is. But if you're doing one video a year and it's not staying connected, or you're not creating content, your audience doesn't have anything to connect with. It's easy to become inconsistent in release and in your vision and values and all those things. So for us, when we can create more high volume campaigns, when we can make more pieces of content for our clients to actually put out there and connect with personally and through the band page, there's a much higher likelihood of success with that content campaign. JECP doesn't just want to make beautiful films, and we also don't want to just see 50,000 views on a video. We want that to correlate to something. We want to hear the story of like, oh, we're feeling more confident as artists. We've never been able to release our music this way. We've never had fans engaging this way in person and online. Think about that partnership. It's about looking at those different areas and seeing how it was before we worked together and after we worked together. If we create that change, we know that we're going to have more of a partnership. It used to be about how do we get more artists. With time, we have been doing less. And I love that because we've been able to give more quality control to each one of our clients. Our clients are taking our time seriously. We're taking their time seriously. And it does feel like a mutual partnership. It feels like we are actually making art together. And when I think about that past version of me that just saw my friends so passionately making art, I feel like I'm along on that journey with my artists now too. When I was starting out, I would be so nervous making art for our artists. It was so much pressure, and I was so worried I was going to drop the ball, and I didn't want to mess things up or harm any of our artists. And these days, it feels like JECP is a great matching partner. It feels like we add so much value to our partners. And it makes me happy that, we've had 10 years in this industry. We were continuing to raise the bar for ourselves. We have a bunch of amazing people that love working with us. I am so excited for what the next phases are. And I think a lot of that is just figuring out ways to support our artists more, to make more challenging storytelling mechanisms. And I don't know, I think that the relevance thing has become less and less scary for me. And I think what's helped get us through that is by understanding that it's really about the relationships. The artists that trust us, the artists that love us, the artists that have conversations with us, that respect our time, we naturally pour ourselves into them. And that makes me really excited for what the future is, what the past has been, and all the things to be kind of grateful for. My point being is just like, as an artist, I'm always trying to look inward at what is the value that I provide, where are the areas of my confidence, and how can I bring out that confidence in our partners.